Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are back for our second episode of Lake Talk. And our category for today is change. I am Joseph the Voice, hanging out with Bub, Zen Zero, and Brave. And we are here to bring you guys some news, to be honest with you, and really get you guys in the loop on some of the things that have happened here at Great Lakes, as well as some other things kind of surrounding esports in general and just kind of some topics surrounding all together. So with that being said, how are you guys doing?
I can start because you're going to notice I'm good, but I got something in my eyeball at work. So the viewers and everybody, you guys are going to see me probably messing with it the entire time, but not doing good. And, super excited to have the pod going again.
Absolutely. How about you, Bub?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Semester started up for me. I'm back at college at good old Indiana Tech trying to finish that degree.
Nice.
Stressed, but we're rolling. So I'm doing all right.
Brave looking all super serious down there. How you doing there, Brave?
Hanging in there. Another day, another dollar. Am I right?
Absolutely. And, with that being said, let's discuss some of the events that have happened. You talk about another day, another dollar. We got players, teams that have won some money in these prior events, and we haven't really been able to hoist them up and give them the rapport that they deserve. So actually, with that being said, we're going to start with the fall major and some of the things that happened there. I'm going to throw it actually on over to Bub and let him kind of start off with talking about some of the things that happened there, specifically at the fall major. I know I can talk a little bit about spring, but I wasn't quite there for the fall major. So give us a little bit about what happened there and, what we've missed out on.
Well, man, if you want to know somebody who can talk about the fall major with me, it's Mr. Zen Zero over here. He was with us the whole time as well.
Yes,
Let's cut it short, and then we'll get into the details as we go along. Columbia Navy, the second perfect split in Great Lakes history. Rochester University did it last year, and they made it look really easy. They only lost one game along the way. That was the winners final. They won 4-1 over Oakland. And Zenith, I don't remember if you were there for that one, but if I remember right, Oakland took the first game. Or it was 1-1 after the first two. It was something like that, right?
Yeah, I think they took the second game, and I actually casted the two series prior, but I did watch. So, but yeah, and that was when we had the big Oakland Siena Heights game 7 overtime. Leading into that to who was going to play, and that was, in my opinion, that was the series of the day for sure.
Super Sub Mega. That was kind of the story of the day at the time. It's not the first time we've seen a sub come in. It was Storm for Rochester last year who sent them through, I believe, to the grand finals where Rochester ended up winning that series. And kind of in similar fashion, too, because if I remember right... No, I think I'm thinking of a different series. Never mind. Somewhere along the way this year, we've had a team start with a sub and then flip. I think I was actually Michigan State during the fall major, if I remember right. But
it was.
Yeah, that sounds right. And then Columbia, I mentioned only losing one series. You know what happened in the grand finals? It was a sweep for Columbia Navy. They were like I mentioned, the second team to ever pull off a perfect split. But they're not the only story here from the fall major. Obviously, Zen, you mentioned Siena Heights University and their run that they went on. Kind of expected, but I don't think we quite expected them to punch nearly as close to Oakland as it ended up being.
Yeah, and like I said, that was a lot of fun. That series right there, to cast it and even just watch that series was unreal and went all the way to the final moments. And I can't remember, I don't know if you remember exactly how long that game 7 overtime went, but there was multiple times on both ends of the pitch that we were like, that's it, they're scoring. And then they somehow kept it out and just over and over again until, it finally obviously came to an end. But that series, multiple times could have went either way.
Yeah, I believe it was like a 3 or 4 minute overtime. It was insane. And I remember just sitting here in the caster booth watching. Sometimes I wish for the people that aren't casting, that are just sitting here and enjoying these series, taking them in from the staff, I wish we had behind the scenes cameras and clips of reactions sometimes, because I think I about fell out of this chair like 4 times during that series, and it just kept going. Speaking of falling out of your chair, not only was that series fantastic, but the series prior, Siena Heights against a team that nobody really expected them to make it that far, and that was Davenport at the time. That was the Byra Para and Rip connection that just would not lose even to some of the better teams here. I mean, they beat Columbia Silver in the lower quarters in 4 games in a best of 5, which is insane as is. And then they took Siena Heights to 7 in the very next series and nearly came through.
Yep, and we were kind of talking about, you know, the fatigue if Siena Heights were able to, you know, win over Oakland, which of course they fell, I mean, a centimeter short, but, you know, just imagine that they had back-to-back game 7s, and not only game 7s, but insane series and insane game 7s. So I don't even know if they would have had enough left in the tank, you know, I mean, which Columbia Navy obviously ended up sweeping anyway. But yeah, I wasn't sure that they'd be able to play another series had they won.
So, well, I know we had talked about flips. That's one of the things that kind of got stuck in my head out of some of the words that you had said there, Bub, was flips. But I want to talk a little bit more about some flops that happened going into Spring Minor 1. Unfortunately, there was some big upsets that happened there. There was some craziness that ensued. You know what, Braves, you want to tell everybody a little bit about what happened there in that Spring Minor 1 and some of the things that kind of transpired that kind of flipped the script a little bit moving forward?
Flipping the script in Spring Minor 1, flipping the script happened a lot in Spring Minor 1. I mean, the whole dynamic, even on my side as being operations, it flipped the script. I was more lost in the sauce, I would say, for myself watching it. But if we do look back, I mean, if we just take a look back, because I mean, so much happened, I even got to refresh myself. So maybe if anybody else wants to kind of jump on that talk, and like I can refresh myself of what even happened, because so much. But on it, we did gain a couple teams that did come in. I think that's one of our talking points a little later down the road. But a big one was Navy took the dub away from. Or Silver, sorry.
You mean Silver?
Yeah, Silver took it away from Navy. Yep.
Yeah, I can go ahead. Actually, go ahead, JCB.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just about to say, Bub, I mean, you know a little bit about some of the changes that have happened there, some of the transitions that have been kind of altering. And like Brave did mention, we will be talking a little bit about it. But I'll just say it like this. There is no Columbia White anymore. Yeah. So if that says anything, that says a lot about what can happen with that A roster, that B roster very easily. Things change very quickly. So, Bub, why don't you talk about some of those changes that you saw and kind of how the pace got picked up a little bit for that Silver team and kind of where Navy stumbled a little bit?
Sure. I mean, we can talk about the groups, and, you know, Columbia Navy in group stage, in the first stage of one of our events, they're not going to lose a series. They haven't done it all year long. And again, they were perfect in Group A. They dropped one game to one of our new schools, Thomas College, which ATV I know you're going to talk about here in a little bit. But aside from that, it was business as usual from them. In Group B, you had Oakland, Kansas Blue, and Western Michigan, and we'll have plenty to talk about Western Michigan as well. Which again seemed business as usual. Oakland, no big issues. But you take a look at that Group D, which was that Columbia Silver team that we just mentioned, and the Davenport roster that they just lost to in the fall major, and Columbia Silver looked like the number one team, and it was not close in that group. Zen, I believe you casted, was it the first series that of the day? I believe you casted them in Ohio Northern, and that was first series, dominant from the beginning.
Yeah, and I was talking a lot about, because we know there were some roster changes, right? As you just said, they the White, I believe it was, no longer, and we were talking about, you know, all the talent on that squad, but how long would it take for them to mesh? Would they have good chemistry? And yeah, I said it multiple times during that series. I said, I think, you know, if this is, you know, any hint to that. Yes, and then they end up taking it all, and I wasn't really surprised. I mean, I won't lie, I was. That Navy squad so dominant, and especially, you know, on the back of Cam, one of the best players in the world, but CRL especially. And yeah, I'm really excited to see, you know, if that's a consistent thing, if they're going to be able to perform at that level.
I think one of us said it pretty good in the back end too, and we're all kind of chatting about it after. Someone said, The team that can take that team down, Navy, is a team that scrims them consistently every single day.
That's Jar. I'll give Jar his due where Jar's been talking up the Silver squad for some time.
I couldn't remember who said it, but I just remember we were talking about that in the background. So I was saying, like, if a team can take down that good of a team, which, you know, shout out to Cam. Again, he came ever so close. I know, as a operations standpoint, we were sitting there watching his final match, because that would have determined if he was eligible or ineligible So it was a great thing to see that Cam got so far. And I saw his Twitter post saying that for a team that came together and only did 2 scrims to get that close. So I think everyone should be on the lookout for watching Cam potentially making that main event next time around. And for us at Great Lakes, no longer seeing a powerhouse in our leagues, but I just wanted to kind of touch on that.
And
I think he was a top 50 player to look at by shift as well.
Yeah, he was a prospect, I think, is the word they used for him. He was up there. And for the record, that this is exactly why we exist. We're here to give these players chances to compete against other top teams and get themselves one step closer to that level. So, for Cam, who's been doing this for, it feels like a long, long time now. Zan, I know you've casted him outside of here, up towards the top. He's been around for a while. He's going to get it eventually. I saw some people on his post saying it's just a matter of time. I think the thing that surprised everyone was how close they were to OG in that last qualifying match. But alas, Cam gets at least one more event here before giving it another shot in qualifier 2. But for Cam, like I mentioned, it's a matter of time for that kid. He's just ridiculous. There's not much. What more can you say?
I do just want to say one thing. So I know we're giving a lot of kudos to Columbia College right now, and well deserved. You guys have been a phenomenal school. But I have been talking up this school for some time. I was so excited for them to come back. And sometimes you got to let lion dogs lay and not mess with them too much, because you get a little rowdy, they start to make some noise. So be careful for Western Michigan University, because that squad right there is a squad that I've been watching. I've been keeping an eye on since last year already. Then they left and they came back. And I was really excited when they came back, when they made the commitment back to Great Lakes. So thank you very much for coming back and being a part of Great Lakes, because I love to see your style of play. And seeing you guys make it to the finals in this last event only gets me more excited for what you guys can bring to the table. But understand, you got teams like Siena Heights, you got teams like Oakland, you got teams like Silver right now that you really got to watch out for. We know that Navy's a dominant squad. Silver just took one. But do not take your eyes off of Western Michigan, because at any given point, they could definitely jump in front of the pack. So with that being said, I think we should jump on over to our next topic, because this next topic is honestly going to explain a lot of depth, a lot of things that have been happening here at Great Lakes. And, some of the things that maybe you didn't realize were happening. We need to talk about the loss of Rochester, the loss of St. Clair, the loss of Columbia College White. Those are just 3 of the schools that we lost. But with losing schools, we also get to add Davenport University, adding another school to their roster. Thomas College jumping on in the ring and adding their mitts in the ring a little bit. So we have all these schools that are now joining. And I can say it again in case anybody missed. We were talking about the loss of Rochester.
For the record, do not mind Brave disappearing. He owns 2 dogs, for those who are wondering, and I think the dogs just had a volcanic eruption.
Dog's one of their cameo, bro. I get it. The dog's one of their cameo.
He'll be back in a minute. For now, enjoy the blue screen.
I'm a little sad because I wanted to pull him in and ask him a little bit about this loss of Rochester. We'll come back to that one. Let's first start. We'll work our way from the bottom and work our way up. So we'll start with Columbia College White, and I'm actually going to throw this one over to Zen, because Zen, you got to watch a lot of these matches really closely over this last event. You got to kind of see that transition and that build up that Silver put together pretty quickly, with these transitions that happen. So let's talk about this new, I guess, hodgepodge rosters that is Columbia College, because now they don't have that 3rd roster anymore.
Yeah. And, like I said, there were some questions I believe everybody had, and, kind of how would the chemistry play out? How would it all play out? We know, 3 very mechy players, maybe a little bit aggressive in each of them. So it's kind of questions of, how are they going to play their roles? How are they going to fit together? How's this puzzle going to go together, essentially? And again, I think we kind of saw, and the question is that going to be the consistent, Columbia Silver, or was that them peaking, right? And is that we're going to see moving forward? Because, you said maybe not having a powerhouse squad, we might still in them that nobody else can beat.
Well, let me just sneak back in there real quick, because I do know, and I've heard some chirps, and I'm pretty sure it's certain that Columbia College Silver squad that we just saw doesn't even exist anymore. They've already
made another roster
transitioned.
move
The
since
rosters
then.
have already changed once again. So that silver squad that just won isn't going to happen again because the Navy squad made an adjustment. I'm actually going to throw that on over to Bub because Bub knows a little bit more about this than I do.
Sure. So first of all, we're talking about Columbia White. It was a situation with Columbia Silver where I believe it was Cosmic was not playing on that roster in Great Lakes anymore. So they called up Gayu. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I still don't know for sure. And Zerks.
I'm not
they called
sure.
both of them up from White. Phantom is still technically on the White roster, but the White roster is incomplete. So he's kind of just an extra player right now for Columbia. And I'm sure it's not the last time we've seen of Phantom, but the Columbia Silver roster that won Spring Minor won 4-2 over Western Michigan. By the way, for those who haven't seen it, it was actually a fantastic grand final that we had for a series we were not expecting. It was Samba, Gusky, Gayu, and Zerks. I believe Gayu was the sub at the time. Yeah. Gusky has gone up to Columbia Navy. They have, I'm going to say, sent down Excelst. As strange as it says up and down, it feels like a lateral move because those two players are basically equal to one another.
Absolutely. And I don't think we're going to talk too much about this particular school because I don't have a lot of information to go off of. But, for me, it was a little bit of a walk of sadness that I have to bring out myself because we lost St. Clair. Our contenders are no longer part of Great Lakes. They had some, changes with their roster. They had some things going on over there, and they decided to kind of move in a different direction. So best to you guys moving forward. But to me, that's a huge loss for us because, they were bringing in a second roster coming in this year. They were adding a little bit more bang in different areas. And I was really just excited to see the kind of mix up and matchups that they can do. Because to me, I feel maybe not as much of a powerhouse as a team like Columbia, but I feel like they had a lot of talent there that they could kind of mix and match to get a good result. So with that being said, losing St. Clair makes me a little sad because I loved watching Spoods out there. I loved watching Ramen out there. I loved watching some of these guys that were just out there making some big plays and trying to make a name for themselves. And now, we're not going to be able to see those guys anymore. So, but we still have a lot of other good schools, but we got to talk about one more school that we did lose. And we got the man sitting here who can maybe tell us a little bit about information, surrounding that situation. But we also did, in fact, lose our other powerhouse team, that is Rochester University. They have been a dominant squad, since they've entered into Great Lakes. And then all of a sudden, Navy shows up, starts to get on some really good heavy competition. And I don't know what happened with that roster, but maybe you can give us some insight there, Brave.
Oh, yeah, maybe I can. Let's see where I can get to and what I can't get to. But first off, sorry I had to take off there. There's sales happening right now for the middle schools, and the kid came around the door yesterday, and I told him, my wife isn't here. I don't know if I have permission to purchase this coupon for Hungry Howies from you. So come back tomorrow. And the kid obviously came back right in the middle of our podcast, so I had to go pay him. You probably heard it because apparently my microphone wasn't muted. So
I got you. I made sure you were muted. You were good.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so we didn't hear that.
Yeah, my apologies. Had to go deal with that. But yeah, I'm wearing the jersey. The only type of representation that currently Rochester has in Great Lakes CRL anymore is just me sitting here with my jersey on. But I won't go into too much in depth. It's just it kind of just came down to the typical needing a change, needing some time off, just time to regroup and restructure and refocus. So that's kind of what Rochester decided to do this semester, is just find their stride in the Rocket League scene again and get back at it next year, hitting the ground running a little bit faster and harder. But definitely Rochester ain't gone for long. They're just taking a little hiatus to regroup and regain.
And certainly isn't the last. Go ahead, JTB.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you definitely talked on a certain subject that I actually want to bring to light. So I'm sorry, Bub, but I want to talk about, a mental reset, stepping away from the game. And this is a lot of stuff that a lot of times we don't focus in on. We don't talk about. Everybody's just so go, 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 go. You want to be the most dominant team. You want to be at the top. You want to put in, 2-3 scrims a day on top of, 2 matches a week, on top of all of your schoolwork, It is draining. I've been a full-time student. I've done all this. It is draining. And, a lot of times, not every school has a mental coach. So not every school has the ability to sit down with these players and really get down to the bottom of it. Essentially, it's a psychiatrist specifically for esports that can help get to the bottom of this if people don't understand what that role is. It's somebody who can work to understand these players, their ins and their outs, and it's not just what's happening on the field. It's what's happening, in their schoolwork, what's happening on their daily. What are the things that are bothering them that are making it so they maybe can't focus as well in the areas that they want to focus, not just on the game. And when people talk about esports, we're always so ready to talk about the game in front of us and things that are happening right in front of us. What about all the circular things that are surrounding us, all of the things that are happening, just to get to the point? Like, we do a lot on the back end with production, with the shoutcasting. Sometimes we got to write up scripts. Sometimes we got to go and, reach out to our sponsor, whatever it is, reach out to our public to get more information. And we do that so that we can create this more wholesome, well-rounded opportunity. So you as a viewer do not feel drained and feel like we're just throwing the same cookie cutter situation at you. That mental isn't just for the players. It's also for the casters. It's also for the fans. It's for everybody. And sometimes as a university, you don't realize that you've been pushing on, 100% for so long. Eventually your gas is going to run out. If you don't take a moment to take a pit stop, in any race, eventually you'll just run out and you'll just slow down on the track and you'll start getting hit by everybody around you and you'll cause a giant traffic jam. So last thing you want at university is a giant buildup of just issues and problems that have just compounded because you haven't taken a moment to just step back, reanalyze the situation and move forward. And me as an educator, I know we have some other educators that are part of our team as well. That's very valid and very important to me to talk about these particular subjects and that kind of, especially when we have the opportunities to talk about, like, this is a very mental game. This is a very, important thing for people to realize. And you can go and go to things like BetterHelp is a good resource that you can go to find, counseling if you need to go and talk to somebody you can't find in your more immediate. There are resources out there, so do not overlook that when you do have the moment. So, but let's kick it to a little bit brighter note and let's talk about some of these awesome universities that are adding some more jam-packed rosters into our collegiate realm. So we have Davenport University, which is their official team name now. I believe our Davenport Black team is now Davenport Red, if I'm correct.
The Davenport roster we used to refer to, they go by, I believe it is Davenport Red nowadays.
Who's on those rosters, Bub?
Both the rosters. Davenport Red has Byra, it has Rip, it has Para, and 16, who kind of floats between both rosters. On the A team with the new Davenport roster, you have Exiled, you have Bolty, and you have a warm welcome back to Great Lakes for the man, the myth himself, Tater, who spent the last year in Great Lakes with Michigan Tech. He's resurfaced, he's back with Davenport University, and we hope to see him competing in Great Lakes once again soon. But yeah, Davenport has added a roster that I would have said previously that roster of Tater, Bolty, and Exiled was a top 4 contending roster prior to Byra, Para, and Rip doing what they did at the Fall Majors. So the top 4 just got that much tighter with that addition.
Absolutely. And, let's just take a moment to give a big kudos to Thomas College coming in and taking a game off of Navy to start it out. They had a little bit of rocky road after the fact, but they definitely came in swinging hard and they were able to take a game off of Navy. So, thank you very much to Thomas College coming on in, being a part of Great Lakes. That's what we want to see is some great, wholesome talent coming into our league and just adding more depth. And that's what we're always looking for. So I know we still have one more big topic, which is why I left a little bit bigger window of opportunity for us to talk about it, because I do think it's a very popular topic, and maybe we can even take a little bit of time to talk about our standings and stuff towards the end as well. But with this particular topic right now, it's been crazy in itself. The show match craze, everybody and their mother, everybody and their grandma, I swear. And if you guys don't realize this, I was just looking at some of the numbers for Twitch. So think of this, all these show matches that are happening and all the money that Twitch spends to be able to put these out. You're talking about thousands of dollars for an 8-hour stream they're putting out. And, these guys are constantly newcomers coming in all the time. And it's getting to a point where it's actually costing Twitch money. I'm not even lying. It's costing Twitch money. Probably. I've been looking at some of the numbers. Yeah. Because there's just this giant new drove coming in. And then even then, it's because you're looking for that small 2% or that small 1% to have thousands, tens of thousands of followers that just get flooded with bits, get flooded with subs, get flooded with all this stuff. So with this new show match craze, what do you guys think is going to happen? Do you think it's going to catch on? I know a lot of it was happening over COVID. You had these pockets of show match. I did a little bit myself where I was doing some show matches here and there. But I'm going to throw this on over to Zen first because I know this is a hot topic for you because you also yourself have been doing some show matches.
Built yourself off of them.
Yeah. So I've been doing them probably, I would say consistently, probably like the last 4 or 5 months. And it's something that I had been wanting to do a while. And I kind of, not to throw too much more in there, but I kind of put this as, show matches and casting as well in one as far as this new craze. And I think I kind of want to go over the pros and the cons of it. I think obviously there's a lot of pros, right? There's a lot of players, a lot of up and coming players. And like me specifically, I do all rank show matches. I mean, most of them are higher rank stuff, but I do all ranks. So, a lot of these players that don't get to play in front of crowds, don't get high level casting over their matches that they can go back, watch, and kind of say, oh, it's almost like a free coaching session because the caster is going to be saying what's going right, what's going wrong, what this person is doing wrong. But yeah, the cons to it, I mean, as you said, one, it's costed Twitch money, but also it's one of those things like, if everybody wants to do it and everybody is trying to do it, it kind of loses its, I don't want to say authenticity, but it loses a little value. I would say.
Like an oversaturation you're talking about?
Exactly. It's an oversaturation because it's everybody wants to do it. So now, these players that a year ago, 2 years ago, didn't really have an opportunity to do this. Now they have 10, 15, 20, depending on how good they are. They have everybody and their mother hitting them up. Hey, you want to be in a show match? You want to be in a show match, right? So the player base is thinned out big time, and it becomes harder for individuals to find these show matches. But on top of that, you have to keep up with hundreds of channels just to keep up with them. So yeah, I think it's a lot of good. I love them. Obviously, I do them myself, so I love them. But yeah, I've just noticed, show matches and casting in general, it's kind of becoming very, very oversaturated, specifically with Rocket League. I can't speak on other games, you guys might know, but just the Rocket League scene, it seems like everybody wants to be a caster now and everybody wants to do show matches.
That makes sense. And I guess a question that I would ask to you before I pass it on over to Bub, do you think that having a more wide range of like you said, I do all ranges of show matches, or do you think being more defined and saying this is my pocket of what I want to offer as my show match? So like something like Great Lakes, for instance, if we were to step into that realm, which we have been considering, we've been talking about, we've talked about the possibility of doing high school show matches specifically as a feeder opportunity to kind of show these colleges that are heavily a part of our league, here's some of the talents that you guys can look at, can talk to. And we could have high schools that are in different pockets that maybe aren't as noticed, maybe not as identified, but have good high talent that could all of a sudden get a player picked out from that player pool that wasn't expected, because we're going to do our due diligence and try to get out there to let these high schools know, hey, we want you guys to be featured. We want you to be out there and be able to show these young players that are trying to get out there. And you talk about this oversaturation with casters. I mean, one of our guys is a young talent. He's in high school, X-Ray, and he's getting looked at by some of these colleges for the hard work that he's putting in here. So to me, that speaks volumes, as to what we can do as a league. And that was what I had set forth to do when I came in here, was to bring in young talent, help develop them, and help them get college opportunities. That was my number one goal. And to know that is succeeding makes me super happy. So Bub, what do you have to say about the show matches and kind of the surrounding, things involved with it?
I've got good and I've got bad to say. First of all, we've talked about, college or high school kids getting the opportunity to play in front of these colleges. I do want to take a moment, because this actually just got announced today. Brave, you and I both saw this almost at the same time. Ugadam and Opbomb, who both played at our summer series up at U of M Flint over the last. And
Michigan State was there.
Yeah, Michigan State was there too. They just signed on with Michigan State. They've committed to go to Michigan State next year. So big congrats to Opbomb and Ugadam. You guys have More than deserved it.
I like to say it was probably us for them coming to our summer series and because Michigan State was there and they got to see just the quality of their play, but
that undefeated group stage they had.
Yeah, it probably had absolutely nothing to do with us at all. Completely not even remotely existent. But I like to say it was fully 100% our doing.
Hey, we can take some credit. They played with us.
Deserve all credit.
Yeah, like you said, on all seriousness, good job to them. That's great. It's good to see that they're going to a what you call it, a Division I school. Everyone kind of wants to go to Division I.
What do you call it? A Division I school? That says it all, honestly.
Hey,
everyone wants to go there at least once in their college career, right?
All I'm going to say is go
fun
blue.
Time. Go blue.
All I'm going to say is go blue.
Are we turning into a football podcast now?
I don't know. We're whatever we want to be, it feels like sometimes. But yeah, just circling back, it's a big accomplishment for them. Couldn't be prouder of them. Fun fact, they did play with Tater during that event too. So there's a whole web going on here of and Michigan State, they picked up oh my goodness, I can't remember his name. I think it was Phantom. He played for Linden High School at the LAN at the LAN championship at Cleary.
Yep.
And he also he actually played in summer series with Michigan State during that event. So Michigan State picking up a bunch of players that we've brought for one or two events here and there in the high school realm, but
again, completely us.
Yeah, 100%
credit for their whole roster.
Yes.
Yep.
But no, circling back to the whole show match thing, I'm kind of like a dichotomy of two opinions. For one, right place, right time, right for these players. There are so many, and Zen, you mentioned this before. There's so many show matches and so many platforms doing this right now. You've got to pick the right ones at the right times to be able to elevate yourself instead of just quantity over quality, right?
Right, doing whatever one.
Mm-hmm. So, and on the other hand, this is a fantastic thing for Rocket League because we've talked about over the last, year and a half now where it feels like, honestly, ever since RLRS and RLCSX shifted from top 32 to top 16, that the bubble scene needed more support. And it didn't just have to be 3v3. We've seen names like Johnny Boy and Fear and others who have really picked up the slack on that. And now obviously, Zen, you've been a big part of it here most recently, and a bunch of other names that have kind of, the community itself is picking up itself in some ways. So what's up, JTV?
Can we talk about the elephant in the room and why I believe all these show matches are really picking up and why this huge transition is kind of taking place?
Hit me with it.
There's literally one person to blame. Not like one person, but one
Johnny
entity
Boy?
to blame. No, RLCS. They took that huge leave of absence to kind of reevaluate and reassess things, and we'll say it like that, because when they came back, they went like this to us.
Yeah.
They shove it so hard up our butts, man. It's not even funny. You got all these major players that now want to step out of the scene, or they're trying to figure out a different solution to #save Rocket League, if you ask me, because right now Rocket League, to me, honestly, it feels like a dying esport only because, and it won't die because the community won't allow it to.
It's also way too unique.
But it's like the higher up, it's like the people who have the power to actually do something about it aren't, and they're just allowing it to work in a different direction that people don't want to see. They're not working with the community. They're not asking us questions. They're just doing what they're doing.
Transparency.
And it's just, I don't know, man.
And again, we talked about it. Yeah, it's not even just show matches. Like the amount of community events, especially over the last month, 2 months, there were orgs that were hosting their own events to try and fill a void, while RLCS was taking the time to reevaluate, as JTV said, and try and
draw
reposition.
Bandits. Not to cut you off, but draw Bandits solo. Incorrect Terror does his weeklies. Frost does their weeklies. Cloverity, Stride.
New Era.
I do
era.
a lot of. Yeah, there's probably literally dozens that I don't even know about. You know what I mean?
Bandits got sponsored, right?
What did?
Bandits on Wheels got sponsored by Psyonix and Rocket League.
Oh, it was. Yes,
on
you're
a couple of them, right? They got.
Yeah.
So I guess they did throw something to kind of fill that gap, but I think the gap that needs to be filled is more getting an amateur league for development purposes. If you're not a pro and you're on that bubble, the only time you have to really show yourself is during qualifiers, and half the time you get kind of lost in that whole thing. You just get lost. It's so hard to track all those games going on. And if you just have like one bad series, like you're eliminated super early and nobody's going to watch you there. So it's like, I'd like to see like if the RLCS did something where they had like a minor league where they bring some extra value to the bubble scene where you can develop your skills and grow. But right now it's just like, it's a make it or break it industry. And you can really tell it on Twitter. I mean, all the tweets.
Wouldn't you assume though that it would be something like the NECC or NASET or something like that would have to step up as like a partner and say, kind of like how, you know, like NCAA is, there'd have to be a partner that steps up that are one of these bigger leagues. Obviously, we're trying to be a big league here, but there are much bigger leagues than us that would have to step up and say, hey, we're going to take on this chunk. We're going to create some organization. We're going to work with you guys, create this like feeder. Because like we see that there's college carball. We see it happening. We see all these collegiate teams competing, but it's like there's still that major disconnect between the collegiate level and the professional level. And even us, like nothing against us, we have to have our rules. Everybody has to have the rules. We don't want all these pros just like running in our scene and running out of our scene. But like once you become a pro, you're gone. Like you're in the pro scene. Like just like as if you're in college, as soon as you get into the pro, your eligibility gets cut off. Like that's how it happens. So, you know, and then these guys are, and we've talked about this in the past, you know, let's say you're 15 years old and you are a professional, right? And then all of a sudden 2-3 years later, you decide you want to kind of go to college and do the college thing. And now you're ineligible to be able to compete because you're already at the professional level. It's like you almost have to choose a different game. Like, does that make you completely esports ineligible across the board? Like other games too? Like other games too? Like if I was like, hey, I'm going to go be an Overwatch main now and like drop playing Rocket League, does that nix you entirely? Because that's my question. Because esports is a title. Like the NFL is football, MLB is MLB, NHL is but like esports is esports. It's just one category. So do you get like?
Well, I mean that's the issue. That's the issue that comes around. I mean, you talk about NACE and them being like they should be a sanctioning body that brings that semi-pro scene, but like you just said it there, it's encapsulated esports. That's a title. There's not like this is Rocket League. This is Rock. It's not like Overwatch or Valorant. It's NACE decided, hey, we're gonna do esports. They picked every title. They shotgun it. Do they do it at the best of the ability for each and every game title? No. Do they try? Yes. Are they one of the best at it? Yes. But if they would just drop a couple of the other game titles and really focus on a couple few, like Rocket League, Valorant, Overwatch, or even if they dropped all of them and just picked one, I don't even care if they pick one. Just focus on building that one up. Focus on making that part of the industry that you are going to focus on the best that you can make it. Don't shotgun everything and then just collect money from all the schools.
You just said it. I'm so glad you said it. I was just about to say, you know what's been ruining our industry? Money. As much as we needed to survive, everybody wanted to come in. As soon as COVID hit, everybody wanted to come in with their pocketbooks wide open, wanted to throw money at everything, but expecting this large ROI that wasn't going to happen. You guys are unrealistically grabbing at something you do not understand, and it is ruining our industry because there is a lot of wholesomeness here. There's a lot of grounds to build. We have all these big orgs, all these big companies that just want to come in because they just want to get their foot in the door. But honestly, you're getting your foot in the door and you're kicking a lot of people out for no reason. And it's making it really hard to, I think, get that, you know, lateral definition of what is esports, what are the categories, how do we, you know, officiate it or move forward as like a governing body of some sort. There is no true like thing in place. And we talked about this at our last podcast too, surrounding this as well. So like, it's going to be a conversation I think we're going to continuously revisit, talking about, you know, we need to have some type of governing system or body in place that helps support esports so that it is not just a title of esports and everything is just kind of thrown into that category.
100% agree. Josh and I were actually talking about this recently too, and the big difference that you see with esports versus like the NHL or the MLB or the NBA or the NFL, it's very, very decentralized. There is no like central body like you were talking about.
Right.
Don't get it twisted. I don't think the esport is dying. I think we've still got probably another year or so until we know for sure. I think right now Rocket League's just going through not even just Rocket League, like the industry as a whole. I mean, we've seen, I think it was Overwatch, like just recently also had a bunch of layoffs for their esports staff. It's not just, I think Riot recently just laid off
Microsoft combined, I think it was, I think it was a combination. I think it was like 1,700 people or something like that, or 1,900.
Yep. And I know Riot also, like in the last like 2 or 3 weeks, I know I saw a couple tweets about those staff members also losing positions. So it's not, esports isn't going to go away. It's been around for far too long. Not quite at the level we're at right now, where it's kind of becoming a household title, something that most people are familiar with. But competitive video games have been going on since Pong. Like,
I think it's getting there.
It's not going anywhere.
Hey, I mean, it's in the Olympics.
Y'all keep just like toying it back and forth between my recent tweet. I'm not going to talk about it. I'll let people Google my recent tweet. It's at Josh Bresnick. It's on the bottom there on my screen. I'm not going to talk about it, but like, it's just kind of that whole thing is like, Bub said, it's not a household name yet. Esports is not household known.
I think it's on its way though.
It is, but until it's there, I don't think some things that are happening that are being allowed should be allowed. But that's as far as I'm going to go on to it. Everyone else can Google what I mean. They go on my Twitter.
He's got a very strong opinion about exactly what he's talking about, but, and he's gotten into it with at least 3 of us, I think, in our own internal conversations.
And I just think there just needs to be
January 29th.
Yeah, it's from yesterday.
RLCS is professional. As a growing scene where parents... sorry. Let me reread that. I apologize. RLCS is professional. As a growing scene where parents currently have the most vague, negative idea about the success, which is what we're talking about as their kids can have. And I don't blame them, and that's kind of where I try to step in and feed this education. But we don't have enough people in my role to do that. I'm just going to say that. Nor do we have enough people who want to step up and do it. Everyone's like, oh, they're just young kids. I don't want to deal with them. I'd rather deal with high schoolers or college kids. That's great. Having a team name, this is where I'm going to cut it off because, like, and I understand what you're saying. Making a team name that you know is fringing on, like, that's one thing I talk to my students about all the time. Pick something that you can be wholesome, that people can say, nobody has to cringe, nobody has to like have a second take at it. But Muffin Men, really really guys?
And the thing is we've talked about this too, like, people who've been involved in the Rocket League community for a long time know where the origination of that name comes from. But for an industry, and I totally understand where Brave is coming from, where they're trying to bring new faces in and people who may be unfamiliar, it's problematic to say the least.
I mean, just look at Rocket League's new rule. It's 13-year-olds can now compete in RLCS. And I'm just going to take from my pros, and I'm sure every single person here, when you had your parents and you were 13 years old, your parents were still considered a young parent.
Right.
They were not well informed on everything that they should do as a parent. They were still growing, evolving, developing their skills as being a parent. So if you have a 13-year-old, even younger, you have a 10-year-old that says, Mom, Dad, I want to go to the RLCS. I want to be a pro. Parents are going to say, what the actual F is RLCS? What does that even mean? They're going to look it up. They're going to do their due diligence. They're going to want to find out, what does my kid want to be a part of? And then if they're looking at that, their first thing is, I'm going to Google, what do these teams' name mean? What's behind them? Blah, 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 this and that. If they have one bad Google search, which is very, very easy to do with some of the names that are going,
it's also just
very
Google.
Difficult. It's going to be very difficult for that kid to have any types of traction with their parents' support at that point. So that's kind of where my take on it is such an informed industry, and now you're just adding more informity to it, and it's just like it's going to go down. You have to really watch it as like a baby.
If it helps, and this has been a long-standing thing I've been working on, I do have a parent's handbook guide that if anybody is ever interested in wanting to learn more about the depths of esports, things surrounding it, and just have education at your fingertips, feel free to reach out to me. It's something I've been working on for over a year now, and it's literally just like
that.
Pages of depth that explain to you what is esports, what are some of the fields you can go into, what are some of the resources that you have at your disposal, where are some of the places you can go to talk to people that you need to. It is so far in depth. No, I'm not. I don't have a thesis I'm writing, but this is stuff that I'm so passionate about, because knowing that you understand what we are doing, what we are saying, why this is happening is so valid to me. One of the biggest things for me over my life is trying to explain to people like my father or my aunt or my grandmother why I am working in esports, why I am working with video games, why I am taking video games as a platform and using it as a way to educate young minds to help them become better people. I don't care what game it is that we use as our platform. What I care is that you can take all these things that you have fun with behind the game of esports. Maybe it's math you struggle with, maybe it's science, maybe it's this or that. And a lot of it is just because it's so intimidating at its forefront. But you can pick up a controller without reading any instructions and do all the things pretty easily. And if you have somebody to help guide you, can help you better understand it, it's only going to help you more. And if you understand that this is how life works, that there should be people there to support you in your needs, in your wants, in your opportunities, in the things that you're aiming for, then that's what we're going to get to. So if you guys ever have questions or ever have concerns or just want to know more depth about esports, do not be afraid to reach out, because this is information that I do want people to have, because it's very valid and very important. And like you said, Brave, this is something that we don't want people to feel like, you know, they're naive to it or they just don't understand. I want you to understand. I'll give you the information and you can look through it in your own time. So real quick, before we, kind of call it quits for the night and kind of finish things up, I do want to take this last moment real quick to just kind of talk about our current season standings. We've had a little bit of break in between this podcast and the last, and things have changed up a little bit. We're going to talk about our top 8 real quick. We'll probably maybe even get into our top 12, because there's a few teams that could still break up into that top 8 here before we get to that spring major. So with no other ado, our leading team in front of the pack is none other than Columbia College Navy with 100
No surprise.
points. No surprise there.
And the perfect season's over. The perfect season is over.
It is over. We did talk about, that there are different levels to Great Lakes, that we feel that there are levels of tiers to Great Lakes, not intentionally, just because some of these teams have really shown that they are or can be that dominant. Columbia College, silver in second place with 71 points. So that's 29-point difference from the leader of the pack. I just want to say that's a huge gap, if you ask me. Then right behind them in third place is Oakland University. They've had a little bit of a rocky road. They got swept there in the beginning of our day 2 for the minors. So, hopefully they can bounce back from that. You don't want to be just taking losses like that. Siena Heights has been rising up the charts with 63 points. I could easily see them passing a team like Oakland. I'm just saying. Can we just talk about Western Michigan University in 5th place right now? Can we just talk about this real quick? 49 points. Yes, there's a gap in between them and Siena Heights, but if they were here for our very first minor, they probably would be right up there with them. So,
hey, all I'm saying with Western Michigan is 1 or 2 more results that are at that level or even close to it, and suddenly they're a dangerous team the rest of the way.
Talking about a dangerous team, this team has really been coming up through the ranks, and that is Michigan State University. They made themselves known a little bit more here in our last event, and I'm looking to see how they continue to push forward. They have 44 points, so they're also kind of neck and neck with Western Michigan University. And then we have Davenport Red in 7th with 42 points. So as you see, everything is starting to get a lot closer. We're talking minimal amount of numbers that teams could easily just jump ahead. Ja would be proud of this one. We got the University of Kansas sneaking in at our 8th spot with 40 points. Now, this is why I say 9th through 12th is going to be a little bit interesting, because I'm going to name off some teams and you're going to be like, hey, that team might not even be around anymore, which only makes it a better chance for somebody else to jump up in there. So Rochester University, even though they are no longer with us, they are currently in 9th place with 39 points. So they definitely fought hard, and they were right on the fringe of really making a presence still in the league, but they have to take that break, and it's well needed. So in 10th place is Indiana University, another team that has kind of been, I'd say, a little bit one of our other sleeper teams in the league that has really kind of made themselves known at different points throughout the league. They definitely haven't been at the bottom too often. They're generally a middle of the road kind of team, but let's see if they can break through that and get themselves towards the top going here towards the second half of the season.
I still maintain with IU. Sorry, JTV.
No, you're good.
I still maintain with IU, if they get the right bracket in a quarterfinal match, they will make top 4. They're one of those teams that if you sleep on them, done. Similarly to Western Michigan, where if you have a bad day or if you underestimate them, suddenly you're chasing them, and it's a lot harder when you're chasing versus when you have that advantage.
Yeah, and they have that momentum.
Absolutely. And then number 11, this is honestly, to me, it's like a coin flip of a team. And I say it like this because they are hot and then they're not. This is, to me, our Purdue Gold of last year. I mean, honestly, if I had to compare them to anybody, that's Wichita State University. They'll come in 1 week and they'll be super dominant. They'll look really good and solid. Everything will be working kind of well. Then all of a sudden the next week, Wichita State, junior, as I'll just say it like that, their B squad comes in and just dominates out of nowhere. So it's like, which team is their A team? Which team is their B team? Are they just two teams? Are they kind of even? I don't really know at this point, because Wichita State JV has definitely done a good job. They're not too far behind. I mean, Wichita State University is 30. Wichita State JV has 13. So, I mean, there's definitely a gap there. But, I mean, their JV team has made some noise.
The only thing about Wichita State is I still don't think we've seen their best performance yet. I think they're much more capable They're much more capable than what we've seen. Brave, I know you know one of their players pretty well, actually, Mr. Kappa, who is not here at the moment, but he's one of the biggest characters in our league. He was with that Rochester team last year. That he played. He was really strong. So
did he?
He did play at times. I think he played like 1 or 2 series here or there. He didn't play much. Storm ended up filling in towards the end of the year.
I can just call him irrelevant, but
yeah, I know.
Just kidding. He's a good guy.
But yeah, I mean, I just don't think we've seen the best Wichita State yet, and I don't know when we're going to see it. If you're watching, this is your challenge from Great Lakes. Prove us wrong.
And then our 12th spot. And I'm going to give a huge shout out to Coach Palmer over there, because he recently just stepped into the driver's seat there at the University of Michigan. That is his home, and that is where he wanted to be, and I'm super proud of him. He moved over from Carthage College, and he moved on over to University of Michigan to help build up their esports, and that is University of Michigan in 12th place with 25 points. So they're also fighting pretty hard. Ohio Northern could still make their way up into that realm. St. Clair is done, unfortunately. So I do think Ohio Northern will probably end up taking that spot. Will Rochester kind of falls out. So at this point, I'm not going to say it's solid, but we kind of have our 12 teams, I feel, kind of locked in as to who are the 12 teams, but where they place is still going to be something to be seen. I think our top one isn't going anywhere. I'll just say this, but will our 2, 3, 4? Will we see those kind of change effects?
One thing and one thing only.
Silver.
Cam, go get yourself an RLCS appearance. Go do it.
Right.
Seriously, from all of us here.
We're cheering you on.
We were all watching that series last night, and I was heartbroken when I saw the way that series ended. Go get yourself one.
Yeah, I could be wearing a Cam jersey right now.
You could.
But in all seriousness,
fake fan.
Before we head out for the night, I know Bub went and got us a sweet clip that we want to show you guys. So we're going to take a moment and show you guys that clip, and then we're going to head on out. So take a moment. Let's take a look at this.
Skirt could not be much more of a fitting name. Just absolutely cooking right there. Grabs the lead. Still a minute left here, but who else? Skirt up for the nice flip reset. Gengar already pre-jumping him. Finds the touch. Oh my goodness. They're just having fun with it.
I mean, that's just criminal, right? That is absolutely criminal. Zen, you called that
I was
play.
casting that. Yeah.
You called that when that happened. I mean,
sir.
That is just unbelievable that and again, Western Michigan was a top 12 team before the last 2 events. I mean, how did they do in the fall major? They didn't win a single series from what I remember. Or did they win a series? They weren't top 8, I know that. But regardless, I'm going to go back and fact check myself real quick while I have a second. But Western Michigan came out of nowhere, and it was around that time then I think we realized they are for real. They are on their way. And
they won against IU Cream, lost against Davenport in losers round 2. They started in the losers.
Thank you. That I knew they ran into someone. Yeah, you ran into Davenport, which was probably the hottest team.
You ran into a hot Davenport, which actually took out Columbia College Silver.
Yeah.
But then I believe actually Columbia College Silver took out Davenport the following event.
Yeah, they did. So
got their revenge.
Just and it almost feels a little unfair too, because we just did a Western Michigan clip the last time. It was a little different. That was more of a blooper than that was a clip. But either way, I mean,
same guy too.
Yeah, same dude.
Double shout out.
Anyways, I think that's it for me, JTV. Floor's all yours, homie.
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you to all of our sponsor teams, all of our partnered schools, all of the families that continue to show up on a regular basis to support our league, all of our players, our staff and production, everyone who's definitely steps up on a regular basis to make this league what it is today. And we know we're going to continue bringing you guys some high-level Rocket League and more coming soon. So do not wait for that. We're hoping on, like I said, maybe getting some show matches, maybe getting some other things kind of in the realm. We even talked about doing a, who is that kind of segment where we talk about, the different people in our production, on our staff, and you kind of get a little bit of understanding of who we are, kind of what we do behind the scenes, or just what we do in our regular lives, because a lot of us do a lot of cool things there as well. So I am Joseph Voice, hanging out with Bub, Zen Zero, and Brave, and we are going to be calling it for the night. We hope you guys have a wonderful time, and we will catch you guys next time on Lake Talk.
Toodaloo.